Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Ching En.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road
and get started.
Hello, and welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers. Previously on the show, we met Dan Orlovsky, the man behind Laura Corlo, Kaohsiung's one and only Israeli restaurant. We heard how a simple craving for the taste of home turned into an unexpected dream during the height of the pandemic. In part 2, we went behind the scenes, looking at the special ingredients imported straight from Israel to the realities of building and sustaining a business in uncertain times, during COVID no less, and his work experience before starting his restaurant. Today, we zoom in on one of the more intriguing parts of Dan's journey, navigating culture, not just in food, but in people. What happens when you take leadership styles shaped in Israel and apply them in Taiwan? What makes Taiwanese workplace culture unique? And what was his experience managing teams across Taiwan, China, Israel, and the Philippines, each with their own expectations, communication styles, and ways of working? In this episode, Dan opens up about the cultural learning curve and the adjustments he had to make to truly connect with his team. If you've ever wondered what it really takes to run a business across cultures, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Having had this experience of running restaurants here in Taiwan and also having experience working in the Philippines and China, I'm wondering what would you say are maybe the differences of running businesses in these different countries? How do you find the business environment in Taiwan in general?
As you mentioned, I used to manage people in Israel and in China and in Philippines and in Taiwan.
Yes.
The culture is very, very different. Between each country has its own specific way that you need to handle and manage the people. I think here in Taiwan it's more similar to the Philippines, let's say, than to China. I think in Israel it's more similar to China than to Taiwan and Philippines. And what do I mean by that is the approach to people in China and Israel is very, very straightforward. If I have any kind of criticism or I want to tell to one of the employees this thing was not done properly, I would just say, this thing was not done properly. Next time, do it different.
Okay.
And if I want to do it in Philippines and in Taiwan, I will need to take a different approach. I will need to a little bit to go around the problem. And I wouldn't say this you didn't do right. I will usually say, in the next time you're going to do it in a different way.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's related to the culture. It's like in China and Israel, everything is straightforward. People are more also saying whatever they want with less filters.
Okay.
And in Taiwan, I think also the people, it has a different way, a different approach in the relationship between, not related to work. I think people will they will say less what's on their mind, and they will have more filters before saying it out loud. That's what I encounter. Do you agree, by the way?
I'm thinking about what you said, and I'm wondering if it is related to, I know in Taiwan, the idea of not losing face, not embarrassing people, for example, or making sure that people, when you talk to them and you give them a criticism, you still give them that space so that they don't feel as if they're being put down, if that makes sense. So I think that's why people don't say things as directly. It's so that they don't lose face. I also think it's also because they don't want to make the other person feel rejected.
Yeah, it's right what you're saying. It's also related to the face issues.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, again, it's related to the culture and less sharing, not even about work. Like, like each one has its personal life, and like I think in Israel, or at least in Israel that I know, people will share their life less with less filters. Like they will tell about like what they did last night or what they plan in the next months to do, where they want plan to go. Maybe I'm wrong, yeah, and maybe it's also like language barrier that I have here, but that's my impression. And also about emotions, they will less share about their emotions. That's what I feel.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think like one of the things that I've encountered about emotions in Taiwan that's very different than in Israel. It's like the way of showing emotions. In Israel, when I'll see my friends and I'll see my parents and I'll see my my brother, it's going to be like even if I've seen them like 2 days ago or 1 week ago, it will be hugs and kisses, like my friends, my family. And here, I don't think I see it.
I think it's a generation thing. I totally see what you mean, but I think like the generations are a little bit different. Maybe for younger people, they're more expressive, but I know definitely for people in my time or even older, they're not used to showing physical affection like hugs and, like you said, kisses. So they're not as expressive that way. But I think maybe the younger generation, because of the influence of media, it's changing a bit. Not entirely, still not the same as with the West, for example, but I think they're still a little bit more inhibited, I guess is the word.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, probably it's the generation, and yeah, let's see the next generation. How will it be? But, I can also see like with one of the things about like and it's related also for the culture difference and the management difference. One of the things that I'm trying to implement with my staff is the communication need to be open. I mean, every time that I'm like interviewing or like before starting to work with us, one of the things that I want to make sure that the communication channel between us will stay open. It's kind of like between me and my employees and me, there's a relationship. A relationship that it's a kind of a give and take relationship, right? Like I give salary, I give like the social benefits, I give whatever I need to give as an employer, and I want to take the hard work, the loyalty, the like everything that it's a give and take, right? Like a give and take, and from their point of view, they give their hard work, and they take from me like the salary and social benefits and the atmosphere and everything. But what else need to be in this relationship? It need to be a win-win situation. If one of the sides don't think that he's a winner, we have a problem. Again, we need to keep it in the boundaries of a workplace and not like a hobby. But if one side will say, if, for example, me, I'm not happy with what I'm getting from the employees, we have a problem. And if the employee is not happy from what he's getting from me, also we have a problem. So if one of us feel is not in the winner side, we need to talk about. And that's what I'm talking about, communication. And as I can see, it's very hard for Taiwanese people to tell me, I have a problem with this. I don't like this. So this what I'm talking about, like the way of not opening up.
Yeah, I see that, and it's just because here in Taiwan, the way most of us are taught in schools is you don't really question higher authority. Like, you don't go to your boss and tell them, I don't agree with you. It's not a very common concept here. Usually, and also most of the time, it's not encouraged in the workplace for people to speak up, because usually when they do that, they get sanctions, not necessarily directly, right? Not necessarily for speaking up, you will be punished or whatever, but it shows in the different ways how, work relationships are. Say, for example, you won't be promoted because the boss might feel that you're just a very difficult employee to work with. So I see what you mean with regards to that cultural aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again, and I know who I'm dealing with. I know the people, and like I'm lucky. I have great employees, really. It's very hard to find. One of the things that I had challenges here is to find employees. Like probably it's mainly in the food and beverage industry. I don't know, but it's very hard. But I'm really lucky. I've got really great employees. And again, part of the learning curve from both of us is me understanding the Taiwanese culture and the where they're coming from, and also they need to try to adjust to understand that I'm not going to give sanctions if they will tell me, okay, maybe this way of working, maybe we can change it a little bit, or I've got an idea about this. I'm happy to hear it, and like slowly they start to learn it. I'm not the smartest person in the world, of course, and I always want to learn, and I believe that from each of my employee I can learn something. So why not to share it? Like each one has a different perspective, different way of thinking. Why not?
Okay. We were talking a little bit about the challenges you encounter in running a restaurant. And when you set up your restaurant here in Taiwan, was it difficult? Like with the licensing and all of the regulations?
First of all, for me personally, it wasn't that difficult because I'll give all the credit to my wife. She handled everything.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I think like the main challenge for us, for her actually, was to open, because we had to have a license of importing, like trading company, because we import a lot of things. So that was the hardest challenge for her. But yeah, like for me, it was pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay. I see. Okay. And then speaking of like different cultural approaches, what are your thoughts about Taiwanese customers in terms of, let's say, their consumer habits?
Like again, as you cannot generalize Israelis, or like I tend not to generalize. So there are so many types. Like there are types that will come to our restaurant and will from the second they enter to the restaurant, I'll see they are being forced to try our food, and probably they will not like it because they come with this kind of state of mind. But on the other side, there are customers that are so willing, and like they haven't tried it, they are surprised from the taste and the flavor. So there's big variety, bigger spectrum of different customers. But the consumer habits, we are not a noodle shop. Like my price range is not in the noodle shop or lunch places. We are a bit above the average, maybe, or average, I don't know exactly. So people that come to us, I think they have in mind that they're going to enjoy a different experience, and most of them do enjoy. I'm not sure about the consumer habits. I just know that the amounts of restaurants per capita in Taiwan, it's the biggest I've ever seen. Like everyone eating outside.
That's true. I think it's because of the convenience, the culture of convenience here. It's just easier sometimes to eat out than to cook yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why the kitchens here in most of the apartments are very small.
Mm, yes, that's true. That is true. I never thought of it that way, but that is a very quick connection to why the kitchens are small here in the apartments in Taiwan.
That's what I think. That's like at least, yeah. And it's a challenging to find an apartment with a kitchen that is like reasonably sized
Yeah,
for my standards, at least. Yeah.
yeah. I never thought of that actually until you mentioned it. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay. And since opening the restaurant, do you have any memorable moments that you would like to share?
Yes, of course. We had a first opening, like a first evening of opening. It was like a lot of pressure on one hand, and the other hand was a lot of excitement, and that's like my second baby. Like it's coming out, and like we are really doing it. Like all the time in my life, there was like in the back of my mind there was a willingness of opening something that related to food. Eventually it's happening, so it was wow, 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 wow. Another very memorable moment was that my parents first came and had dinner in the restaurant. Unfortunately, my parents are both of them passed away already, but I had the chance to host them properly in the restaurant in Lower Corlo. So, and at least it seems that they like the food. Like, I'm their son, so of course they would say it. But yeah, it seems that they really like it, and they were really like moved from everything. So it was nice. And of course, when my son eats, take a first bite of a new dish, like he's 6 years old, so like every year we gave him a little bit more and a little bit more, but his impressions on his face, especially when he liked it, it's one of the best feelings. One of the best feelings, yeah.
As we wrap up this part of our conversation with Dan Orlovsky, we've seen that building a business like Laura Corlo isn't just about serving great food and having authentic tastes. It's also about adaptation and understanding people across cultures. But there's still more to the story. In the final part of our interview, Dan gets real about the challenges of running a restaurant in Taiwan, from the day-to-day pressures to the unexpected hurdles that come with it. He also shares practical advice for anyone thinking about starting a business or opening a restaurant here, offering insights drawn from his own journey. And of course, we'll hear what's next for him, his plans, his goals, and where he hopes to take Laura Corlo in the future. So make sure you tune in to the last part of our conversation. You don't want to miss how this story continues to unfold.
This is Ching and Cho.
And Mary Ann Shoko.
See you guys next week. Bye.